Hey, everybody's doing well. We good?
Hey, Lance, I guess I'll get started here. I know this is signing day, and you had some prospects today, but you also announced the hire of Jim yesterday to be the defensive tackles coach. And I was just curious, what was the thought process behind bringing him on, and if anything, does that change the roles of anyone else on the staff?
Good question. Yeah, we added Jim Panagos to coach our defensive tackles. Really excited about what Jim will bring our program. I don't know how many years I've known Jim now. I met him when he was at the University of Minnesota. He came to Buffalo to one of our camps. Was highly impressed. When looking at the earlier changes we made following the end of the regular season, continued to analyze our situation. It just resonated to me back what I initially wanted to do. And when we made some of our biggest improvements at our last job was when we had 2 defensive line coaches, and having Taiwo coaching the defensive ends, which he's experienced in doing, and then bringing in Jim to coach our defensive tackles was something I felt was going to be a great opportunity for us. And through that process, knowing that we'd have great alignment within our defensive staff room, and this would benefit our players. Last season, when we have, I'd say approximately 16 to 20 guys. I don't have the exact number with me at the moment, and you're coaching film and you're coach in a course of a practice, and, whether it be one-on-one film, scout team film, opponent film, and, you're trying to coach 4 guys versus splitting it up. And I, again, felt that this will benefit our players in development, engagement, and of course, alignment in what we want to do schematically. As far as I alluded to, Taiwo will continue to, he will work with our defensive ends. Jacob Schoonover will still be heavily involved in the coordination and of our special teams, but we'll move to an off-field analyst role at that. But more importantly, part of this move was, Jacob Schoonover's done an outstanding job in recruiting and in our relations with high school coaches, especially in the state of Missouri and Kansas. And it became apparent to me as I traveled with him through Kansas in this, as we know, that's going to be a very part of our future is our local recruiting. And he will take over a role as well as director of high school relations, that we will have somebody where he can spend more time with that and expand that role more and add to our recruiting staff in that way that I feel will benefit our program for the long term.
And then also, I guess, sticking with defensive line, with considering that you lose someone in Kyron who's now, going off for a pro career, how critical was it bringing in someone like Lonnie to help that defensive line room?
Very important. And we continue to, as we look at it, and not just because of Kyron, and Kyron's, what an outstanding young man. I think he's, things are going pretty well for him. It appears at the Senior Bowl. Proud of that accomplishment, especially really playing only defensive end 1 true year. But just like Kyron, we've had others that we've had to adjust, and, playing from a 3-man front to a 4-man front and how players were recruited. That in the linebacker position is still a area for us that we're transitioning to fit our defensive philosophy. So Lonnie was somebody that we definitely felt we needed to get older and get someone who's had experience at the position in that type of scheme. So very excited about the addition of him.
And then last for me, you had a couple of running backs through the portal as well, and Sevion and Kai. I think Andy has talked at least a couple of times about how he wants to have multiple guys that fans know the name of. So just what do you think about adding those two guys, and what does that mean for that running back room, especially bringing back Devin?
It really adds to the room and the quality of the room. And again, that's Andy and the rest of the offensive staff's ability and responsibility to now utilize some of these guys to the best of their abilities. We've always been an offensive team that's philosophically is we're going to utilize as many of our talented players as many ways as possible. If that means there's two backs in the game at the same time, or if there's two or three tight ends or four wide receivers, we want to be as multiple as possible. Again, Savion was the first one that jumped in, and then when Kai Thomas, obviously somebody right down the road, Topeka, the year that he had, a lot of other things that he adds, but more importantly, his ability and talent level to bring into the room was something we were very excited about. And Devin Neal led the way in that and helping in the recruitment of Kai Thomas, which again says a lot about Devin and what he understands is needed for us to be able to to be the team we want to be. Devin didn't get to play the last game of the year due to injury. We want to make sure that we have healthy backs, and the durability and workload will also be a consideration as we go through with any of our players. One thing, especially at that position, I want to add is, you have to remember that, our starting running back left the program after in the first month of the season. And then shortly after, the season had ended and we went through some things, Amari Hickson decided to leave the program as well. So sometimes when guys leave the program, you're not just going to always replace with freshmen, especially when you're the youngest Power 5 football team in the country and one of the youngest teams overall. We're extremely young. I like where our talent level is at, but at the same time, as we saw ourselves kind of go through, midway, from whether it be through Iowa State or Oklahoma State or one of those programs that were, senior laden, a lot of super seniors, all those things, you start seeing where our youth and overall physical development isn't completely where it's going to be someday. And we have to address that. And we have to also address the fact that we want to be a program that's going to embrace competition, not just on Saturdays, but daily within our program.
Lance, when you talk about Devin bringing Kai in, you also had Rich Miller reach out to Kalen Gervin. You had Kenny Logan reach out to Eric Gilliard. What does it say about these guys trying to look to some of their friends to help get part of this thing that you guys are trying to build?
Well, I think what it says is, again, it goes to I believe the quality of young men we have in our program and knowing what it takes. You mentioned Rich, from the day, Rich came here, I've tried to, he said, Rich never started a game in Buffalo. Okay. And he ended up being probably, if not our most consistent linebacker statistically, in many different ways of the role he has, but he also is a great team player. And he understands roles and depth and competition and all the things I just sort of alluded to. And of course, Kenny had a relationship with Eric. So across the board, our guys know that it continues and embracing competition, whether it be at your position or whatever, that we need to add to our program and always have to. And college football's changed. It's changed since the first day I stood at the podium in front of all of you with the transfer portal and NIL and a lot of other things. So all these things we have to be able to change with the times. And I think our players are as well.
Hey, Lance, here over the last few weeks, I know you and the staff have been in a lot of high schools locally, Kansas City, Missouri, Wichita area. Just talk about the importance and the emphasis you guys are putting on local guys.
Well, it's very important to us, and we've been quickly able to see the quality of players. And that can be through past studies upon arrival about guys that are playing, whether it be, at other local Power 5 schools or the ones that even have left the state, that there are players right within the areas that you mentioned and a little bit further out that we feel can be the nucleus and building blocks of our football program. And we said that early on, and it's not always going to work out. You're going to get everyone, and it's not that you're always going to be able to take everyone. But at the same time, we have to, if we're going to say it, I thought it was very important when time allowed to get a chance to meet some of these coaches, get into schools, but also we got to back up what we're going to say. And I couldn't tell you, John, it was great. I really enjoyed it. From what we could see, I think the coaches have appreciated what we've been able to do in communication, at least in this short period of time. And, for many of them, it said it's the first time that, a KU head coach has been in their building in a very long time.
And I don't think there was any walk-ons announced, but I know there's some walk-ons that have decided to choose Kansas. Just talk about the importance of building that program.
Yes. I haven't got the clean, especially with school canceled today, where we're at as far as who I can comment on. But again, we had a fairly large junior day a couple weeks ago, continually to embrace that as far as where we want that to be, for many reasons. Within a drivable distance, the in-state walk-on is very important to us. The cost of going to college and paying one's own way. We've seen the value of, a Jared Casey, a walk-on making huge impact. And again, those are those type of guys that have grown up in this state and have desire to represent this university. And we want to make sure that, when we look at our walk-on slots and what we can do roster-wise, again, we want to start right here and work out from there.
Yeah, and last one from me, Lance. That late signing day usually means the end of recruiting, but obviously you guys probably carry some spots forward. So this moves into the spring for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think this will ever stop now with the portal the way it is and slots. And, as we continue to get near that 85 that we want to be, and the transition, you're still in a balancing act world, so to speak, of how many initial scholarships you have. Part of it was how many mid-year slots we were able to bring people in, how many scholarships we'd have even to use, but then also, unfortunately, I think some publication even did a pretty nice article yesterday about the total numbers of guys, what the average have been across the board, what the average has been of guys leaving after spring ball, and now you have to try to plan for some of those and make sure you can kind of address those things. But at the same time, none of us have a crystal ball to know where you end up. What positions those be and who those will be. And, we continue to work to even out our scholarship numbers. We're unbalanced in some scholarship areas on our team from the time we arrived, offensively and defensively. We have some positions that are heavy laden, and, we work to kind of balance that. So school being closed here today and everything, we Zoomed as a staff all morning on our 23 board and doing things. So between the 23 board and then what's still going to maybe transpire here in the next few months, as you know, it never really stops.
Lance, to the point about the scholarships and the numbers and the positions, you bring in only 6 high school players now. Is there going to be a fine line, you think, moving forward about how many scholarships you're going to have to designate for transfers for experienced players versus high school players? And that just seems like a very difficult line to have to walk in terms of balancing everything as you put a roster together.
Absolutely. It is. We have a grid, how many scholarships we're going to have allotted for each position. And then we have it broken down by what grade they're in, from freshman, a true freshman to a redshirt freshman, so on. And if they burned a redshirt year or not. And then, right now that is not anywhere near where we would like it to be. In some areas, we're really bunched up. I'll give you an example is, Sam Burt coming back, which we truly wanted him for so many reasons, but we have 4 senior to be defensive tackles. Okay. Well, then you get really young all of a sudden. So there's some things that we have to balance. So again, when you look at it, how many would you take younger? How many are you going to look older? Now older becomes, is it portal or is it junior college? And there's a lot of things that we try to balance. And again, as I started today's press conference, really about the youth and where we sit, you look a lot in our defensive secondary, how many really true freshmen, redshirt freshmen are playing. Okay. And that's why we've kind of looked a little bit older. So those things try to balance that you don't have big hits at one time, but obviously through COVID and other things that have happened, our freshman, redshirt, sophomore classes are pretty bunched up right now.
And then the only position group you didn't seem to address this year was wide receiver. You've obviously got some guys coming back and some guys who are talented who you've lost. Is that a conscious effort? Did you just strike out on some guys? What's kind of the assessment there in that group going, having a big zero there for that one?
Well, truthfully speaking, that's one of the positions we're definitely over scholarshiped at the moment.
Okay.
And so that was one of the reasons.
Sure.
Like I said, not being here before, and you look at the difference, whether it be from the spring game or even times before that, again, looking at scholarship numbers and what the philosophy was, there was ways that, again, candidly, that it was recruited like a 11 or a 10 personnel team, but yet tight ends and fullbacks were being signed as well. So it's really bunched up, and we're about 10 scholarships over last season on offense than we were defense. And we're trying to get a lot of things balanced because I think that affected our special teams as well. So, so that went right now as a position, even though we lost a talented player in Kwame Lassiter, that we know that at the moment that we had to hold tight there.
Hey, Lance, obviously there's a good crop of guys that can use that super senior season. Who all has said they're going to come back or are back with the team now?
Well, I guess I didn't really view it as a super senior season. I don't know if you have anyone in particular. Right now, we're sitting at about 8 seniors. I guess if I would, might as well, since that type of question's asked, the only one that's really decided not to play that has had eligibility at this time, really, you saw Miles Kendrick went into the portal. So let me address that. That was something that was discussed. Even he didn't know if he was going to play again. To going through things, there was great dialogue with us and very open discussions on both sides. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate him. And, he's hoping to get himself in a position where he's healthy enough to go compete for a job. Miles Fallon had decided also at quarterback to move on as well. He's going to be finishing up school. Jamal Horn was a receiver that went into the portal. He is graduating and moving on. So there's some. Since we've started, Colin Grunhard has decided not to continue to play, through the injury and coming back, and he had a setback through his rehab of that. And, he came back for about the first week and handled it like a pro and like the mature young man that he is. And just has decided just to finish up his academics and his master's degree. And we truly appreciate everything he gave our program.
And specifically, then I'll follow up. Someone like Malcolm Lee, is Malcolm decided to use that extra year?
Yeah. Yes. I guess, again, not having a whole roster here, there's guys here. Malcolm Lee is back in the program and looking for him. I thought he finished strong and getting more comfortable with what we're doing, looking for him to take another stride here.
Hey, Lance, just big picture. What did you guys accomplish with this class?
Well, I think that what we've been able to is some athleticism at the linebacker spot. We, again, as we looked at ourselves late in the year, we needed to add there. I mentioned about our special teams. I think most importantly, competition. You're going to hear me say that a lot. I think you'll hear me use the words alignment and competition, probably almost to the point you'll be tired of it here till maybe next August, is because those are things that became very apparent to us, is being aligned and making sure that we have enough competition in our program, that guys are going to go out each and every day to reach their fullest potential, not necessarily inherit a job by someone else moving on. And by doing that, I think our team will get better. The individual will become better. I think those are the things that some of these young men are going to give us. Kalen Gervin's going to help us at corner that way. We talked a little bit about the running backs and linebackers. We're excited about Nolan Gorsica from Omaha that transferred from Buffalo. He was one that we were really excited about when he committed to Buffalo. I think he's a young man that, probably would add a lot more attention if it wasn't a COVID year. And when he was desired to get closer to home, that was one that we wanted to really get to. But those are the things I think right now. I think the way we finished the year and right now through Matt Gildersleeve in the weight room, talking about how the guys have blended in, things are off to a very positive start.
And specifically Craig Young, what kind of player do you expect him to be?
He's a long, good looking, athletic, linebacker. It's like, I forgot, I think it was Kenny Logan or somebody said something when he was on his recruiting visit, like, like something like Coach Simpson wasn't messing around or something like that. So in recruiting, Craig's a guy that, is very talented, even to his own. He's looking for that fresh start and rededicating himself to get himself to the fullest of his potential. I had a coach that saw him at Ohio State camp and kind of an individual workout. And after Craig had it was announced he was coming here, he said that was about as good looking of a workout of a young man that he had seen in all his time. So he's a very talented athlete, and now it's a time for him to maximize it while he's here at Kansas.
Good time for one more.
Hey, Lance, we talked all last year about, the timing of your arrival, and you said, isn't it going to be nice when we don't have to talk about that anymore? I wonder if it feels like you're there. I know things have changed. You've spent a lot of time today talking about how different things are, but does it feel like you're kind of in that regular routine and flow of a season again yet, or no?
We're getting closer. We're getting closer. We're not even, 9 months into this yet? Is that what you told me, Daniel? It's been fast and furious yet. I mean, comfortable in really how we're working. And now as we implement new staff members and things and new players, I mean, that's always going to be evolving. As far as our families and things like that go, I think everyone still is extremely excited to be here and love being in Lawrence. I think we have to get through this spring component of watching our players fully understand and embracing what a year-round program will be under us, what it's like to continue to improve our culture and take the steps that we kind of were able to take there in November and keep building upon them and not be satisfied because we still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, just quickly following up on that culture thing, does it feel night and day compared to where you are today heading into spring versus when you first got here and tried to tackle that thing right with the season around the corner?
I think so. I think it has, because the players have embraced it, a lot better. And I want to credit them from the start of a lot of things were different. I always kind of, as refer to a lot of things Kenny Logan says, and, because he spends a fair amount of time in my office. And I asked him, what do you like best about what we're doing? And, he'll talk about the schedule, the structure, the things that we have to do, that they have to do each and every day. Then I ask him what he likes least about kind of what we do. And he says, the structure, everything they have to do. And so it's what they wanted. It's what they know is going to help make them better. But yet it's much like a lot of things we all have to do. It can be very tedious and things. And but as a whole, they're understanding it. And I think, again, a lot of that goes to our assistant coaches. It goes to our strength coach, Matt Gildersleeve, and his staff. And I think they're understanding a little bit more about this. And we're starting to see the dividends of that.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jim. Have a great
Thanks all.
day. Stay warm.